Hey everyone, welcome to Reality TV News Update, the place where you never miss a moment from your favorite shows. Survivor nearly welcomed an all-new group of unexpected castaways when a cruise ship ran aground off the coast of Fiji's Mamanuca Islands, the archipelago where the long-running reality competition series has filmed since 2019 on Saturday, April 4. More specifically, the Blue Lagoon Cruises vessel, the Fiji Princess, was grounded on a coral reef near Monariki Island. No injuries were reported when the ship's 30 passengers and 17 of its 31 crew members were evacuated later that same day. Despite the fact that Monariki is uninhabited, the island has a long and illustrious film and television history. It was the location of the film Castaway, directed by Robert Zemeckis and starring Tom Hanks in 2000, as well as the so-called Edge of Extinction on several previous seasons of Survivor. The crash of the Fiji Princess was reported just a few days before CBS was to begin filming the 51st season of the show, with season 52 due to start later this summer. After crashing on the Edge of Extinction Island, all passengers survived. Blue Lagoon Cruises' Princess Fiji cruise ship was evacuated on April 4 by Fiji's Maritime Rescue Agency off the coast of Monariki Island. The organization reported that no one was hurt on the damaged ship. Initial checks confirmed that the vessel has suffered serious damage to its rear left side, including the area where the steering equipment is located. According to a spokesperson for the Maritime Safety Authority of Fiji, MSAF, a portion of the vessel underneath has also been damaged. The vessel also experienced engine failure and was reported to be taking in water following the grounding. Due to rough seas and strong waves, officers were unable to safely inspect the vessel underwater at the time. While the majority of the passengers and crew were rescued from the damaged ship, MSAF said that its main priority now is to reduce the risk of pollution from the 20,000 liters of diesel fuel on board the luxury cruise liner. The spokesperson went on to say that MSAF and local authorities had tried to use oil spill equipment in the area as a precaution, but the rough sea conditions prevented them from using it. The spokesperson continued, stating that MSAF's main concern at this time is the safety of all personnel, the protection of Fiji's marine environment, and ensuring that response efforts continue safely. At the time of inspection, there were no signs that the fuel tanks had been damaged. Will the grounded cruise liner affect Survivor 51 filming? The upcoming filming schedule for Survivor 51, which is scheduled for mid-April to mid-May, does not appear to be impacted by the Princess Fiji shipwreck. Having said that, there is still no word about a new group of castaways traveling to the Mamanuca Islands to film yet another episode of the Emmy-winning reality competition show, not even from vigilant Reddit sleuths. We do know, however, that Survivor will return to its typical new era trend of casting so-called newbie contestants for the follow-up to the show's currently airing 50th season, which featured the franchise's largest ever cast of returning players. A teaser trailer for the as-yet unfilmed season of Survivor 51 will undoubtedly follow the live finale of Season 50 on May 20th, 2026, assuming CBS adheres to its tried-and-true release schedule. Stay tuned for updates on the filming of Survivor 51 and 52, as well as coverage of Survivor 50 in the Hands of the Fans, which is currently airing. And be sure to catch a brand new episode of the milestone Golden Anniversary season on CBS this Wednesday, April 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern to catch what CBS is calling the biggest twist in franchise history. The Aurora Meridian was never meant to be part of the show. It was a floating palace, glass decks, champagne bars, and 1,000 vacationers chasing sunsets across the Pacific. On board, no one was aware that the island for Survivor Season 51 lay just above the horizon. Hidden cameras, tribal council torches, and supply crates had already been set up by production crews. A new group of contestants would be isolated for less than a week to outwit, outplay, and outlast each other. However, as is typical, fate had other ideas. Day 1. The impact. At 2:17 a.m., a grinding roar tore through the hull of the Aurora Meridian.
As the ship violently swayed to one side, passengers were thrown from their beds, plates shattered, lights flickered. Then came the silence. The unnatural stillness made it feel as though the ocean itself had stopped breathing. Within minutes, fear replaced confusion. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, strained but controlled. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have run aground. Please remain calm. Crew members will assist you." But there was a dearth of calm. Among the passengers were strangers who would soon become something else entirely, survivors. There was Maya, a paramedic from Toronto, already tying her hair back as she moved instinctively towards the injured. Daniel, a quiet software engineer, gripping his phone even though it had no signal. Leela, a travel vlogger who, despite trembling hands, kept filming everything. And also Marcus, a former Marine who said, "We need to get off this ship, now," after just observing the tilted deck. Day 2, the island. The truth was made clear by sunrise. The ship was torn open and stuck fast on a coral shelf. Rescue calls had been sent, but the nearest Coast Guard response was days away. The nearby island, lush, green, and eerily untouched, was their only option. Lifeboats were lowered in shaky coordination. Some passengers refused to leave the relative safety of the ship. Others rushed ahead, desperate for solid ground. Maya helped stabilize an injured elderly man before boarding. Marcus organized groups, making sure no one was left behind. Daniel hesitated until Leela grabbed his arm and pulled him along. She said, "Come on, standing still will not help." The beach they landed on was almost too perfect. White sand, dense jungle, the sound of distant birds. What they didn't know is that they had just entered one of television's most tightly controlled wild environments. Day 4, the findings. The first crate was accidentally discovered. Marcus tripped over a half-buried wooden box while surveying the tree line. Inside were machetes, flint, cooking pots, and a laminated card with bold lettering, "Survivor, property of production, do not remove." "What the hell?" he muttered. Soon, more crates were uncovered. Water containers, tarps, even bags of rice. Daniel adjusted his glasses, frowning. This is not accidental. This is staged. Leela's eyes grew wider. "Oh my God, this is that island, isn't it? The show, Survivor." The group quickly came to the realization they weren't just stranded, they were stuck in a location designed to test their endurance. Day 5, the shift. At first, the supplies felt like a blessing. Fire was started, shelters were constructed, hunger was held at bay. But something began to change. Without structure, people drifted into roles and power dynamics. Marcus naturally took charge of building and security. Maya assumed the role of caregiver, taking care of injuries and maintaining morale. Daniel began cataloging the supplies in an effort to logically impose order. And then there was Leela, who kept filming. "Why are you still doing that?" Daniel asked one evening. "Because this is history, and because if we get out of this, people are going to want to know what happened." "But this isn't a show, isn't it?" she spoke softly. Day 6, the fracture. Food became an issue. The rice wouldn't last forever, and fishing attempts failed more often than they succeeded. Arguments began, small at first, then louder. A group led by a sharp-tongued lawyer named Karen accused Marcus of hoarding supplies. "You're acting like you're in charge," she snapped. "I'm trying to keep people alive," Marcus replied. "Or manage them?" The thought lingered. Control. It changed everything. That night, 2 crates went missing. Day 7, the game without rules. The island now felt different, less like a refuge, more like a battleground. Groups formed, alliances, though no one called them that. Currency became trust. Information became power. Maya tried to intervene after noticing the change. "We need to stay united," she insisted. "This isn't a competition." But she could also sense it, the pull of something more primal. Conflict was designed into the island, and it was working. Daniel, who had remained neutral, was approached by both sides. "You're smart," Karen told him. "We need someone who can plan ahead." Later, Marcus said, "You think they'll share when food runs out?" Daniel realized something unsettling. He was being recruited. Day 7, the first storm. The storm hit without warning. Wind tore through the camp, ripping apart shelters. Rain turned the ground to mud. They were plunged into darkness as the fire died out. People screamed, supplies were scattered. Maya worked tirelessly, dragging people to safety. Marcus fought to secure what remained of their camp. Leela filmed until her camera battery died, then sat in silence, hugging her knees. When the storm passed, the island looked different, broken, exposed.
Luxury cruise liner Celestial Tide wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the island. Its route had been carefully plotted, an indulgent arc across turquoise waters, far from anything resembling danger. Families escaping routine, honeymooners, retirees, influencers chasing idyllic sunsets, and honeymooners were all aboard. Laughter echoed across decks. The glasses shook. The ocean seemed endless and kind. 200 miles away, a very different kind of preparation was underway. A remote island, undisclosed to the public, was being transformed into the set for Survivor Season 51. Trees were being fitted with hidden cameras. The challenge structures were only half completed. Machetes, flint, and rice crates were subtly hidden or disguised. In a matter of days, contestants would arrive, unaware of where they were, ready to battle the elements and each other. However, none of them would ever participate in the planned game. The night, everything changed. The storm appeared without warning. One moment, the sea was calm. The next, black clouds swallowed the sky. The celestial tide was violently struck by the wind. Waves rose like walls. As the ship groaned under pressure, it jolted passengers awake. Alarms rang. Over the chaos, crew members yelled instructions. "Go back to your cabins! Hold on to the railings, please!" The impact followed. The hull was shattered by a crushing, deafening crash. Metal screamed against rock as the ship tipped violently. People tumbled. Lights flickered and died. Then came a heavy, unnatural silence. The captain's urgent, tight voice broke through. "We have run aground. Remain calm. Emergency protocols are in effect." But panic had already taken hold. Strangers are made to survive. By dawn, the damage was undeniable. The ship was stranded on a reef, its underside torn open. The deployment of lifeboats was not without difficulty. Some passengers were injured. Others refused to leave the illusion of safety behind. Among them were a handful of individuals who would soon shape everyone's fate. London-based nurse Aisha began treating the injured as soon as she could with whatever supplies she could find. Ben, a construction foreman, assessed structural risks with sharp, practical eyes. Leo, a college student, clutched his phone even though it had no signal, documenting everything in shaky videos. Then there was Sophia, a quiet woman who had spent the majority of the journey reading on her own and kept an unsettlingly calm gaze on everything. "Staying here isn't safe," Ben said firmly. "If the hull shifts, this whole thing could break apart." Groups began reluctantly to board lifeboats. An island awaited them in front of them. The island that wasn't meant for them. The beach appeared to be a haven. Soft white sand stretched along the shoreline. The palm trees moved lightly. Birds called from deep within the jungle. Relief washed over the survivors as they stumbled onto land. Someone said softly, "We're safe." However, security was an illusion. Within hours, they began exploring and discovered something strange. A crate, half buried, weathered but intact. Inside, a machete, a pot, sealed bags of rice, and a bright orange tag. Property of Survivor Production. Leo's eyes widened. No way! More crates were found. Water containers, tarps,
even hidden camera rigs strapped high in trees. "This isn't just an island," Aisha said quietly. "It's a set." Ben exhaled slowly. "So what? We make use of this." But Sophia gave her first speech. "This place was designed to test people," she said. "Be cautious. It might start doing that. Survival or something else." At first, the supplies felt like a miracle. Tarps and driftwood were used to construct shelters. Flint was used to start the fire. Food was rationed. But as the days passed, something shifted. The structure of the island, the hidden resources, the scarcity, the isolation began to shape behavior. Ben naturally took charge of construction and defense. Aisha became the healer, tending to injuries and calming disputes. Leo kept documenting, narrating events like a live broadcast no one would see. Sophia watched, always watched. Small disagreements turned into arguments, arguments into divisions. "Why does Ben decide who gets what?" one man asked. Another responded, "Because someone has to. Or maybe he just wants control." The word lingered. Control. That night, supplies went missing. The unwritten game. By day 5, the group had split. Ben led one faction, focused on discipline and structure. A second group, more independent, resisted authority, insisting on equal access to resources. Aisha tried to bridge the gap, but even she felt the tension pulling people apart. "This isn't a competition," she pleaded. "We need each other." But the island seemed to whisper otherwise. Leo, still filming, muttered into his camera, "It's like the game started without players, and we got dropped in instead." Sophia finally approached him. "Games don't need permission to start," she stated. "Just the right conditions." The storm that broke them. On the 6th night, the storm returned, stronger than before. Wind ripped through the camp, tearing shelters apart. Rain flooded their supplies. The fire died instantly. Chaos erupted. People scrambled to save what they could. Crates were lost. Food was soaked in the putrid mud. Aisha worked tirelessly, pulling injured survivors out of the mud. Ben yelled commands that no one followed. Leo's camera slipped from his hands, disappearing into the storm. Sophia stood in the rain, unmoving, watching. By morning, the damage was devastating. Nearly half of their supplies were gone. And something else. Trust. The breaking point. Hunger changed everything. Confrontations resulted in arguments. Allegations flew. "You took extra food. You're lying. You think you're better than us?" Ben's authority crumbled. Aisha's voice went unheard. Then the unexpected event occurred. Sophia appeared on the scene. "We're thinking about this the wrong way," she said calmly. Everyone turned. "This island isn't trying to keep us alive. It's testing what we'll do to survive." "And what are you suggesting?" Ben inquired. Sophia looked at him. "That we stop playing the roles it's forcing us on." Silence. Then Leo said, "Or we lose ourselves completely," shaking and exhausted. That afternoon, a distant shape appeared on the horizon. A ship. Hope shot up. "We need a fire alarm," Aisha stated. But hesitation lingered. Some feared squandering their remaining resources. Others, quietly, feared something stranger, that leaving meant losing whatever strange power or purpose the island had created. Ben didn't wait. He began building the fire. One by one, others joined, even those who had fought the hardest, even Sophia. The flames rose. Smoke billowed into the sky. They waited and waited. Then, a horn, deep, echoing, real. The ship had seen them. Aftermath. Before sunset, rescue arrived. Survivors were pulled aboard. wrapped in blankets, given water and food. Some cried. Others quietly paid the island back as it disappeared into the distance. As it vanished, Leo whispered, "We were never supposed to be there." Sophia replied, "Maybe not, but we learned what it meant to be." Epilogue. Production for Survivor Season 51 was delayed indefinitely, not because the island could not be used, but because something unscripted had already happened there. Footage recovered from damaged cameras and Leo's partially salvaged recordings revealed something raw, unpredictable, and deeply human. No challenges, no votes, no $1 million prize, just survival. And in the end, the producers reached a quiet conclusion. The greatest season of Survivor had already been played by individuals who never registered for the game.